Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. I am very happy to present the findings of my doctoral thesis with the title Moving Towards Social Cohesion Through a Dalcroze-inspired Approach. Just before we move on, I would like to recognize the financial assistance I received from the South African National Research Foundation. Without this generous funding, the study would have not been possible. So my full thesis is available online, and please be sure to check the PDF I attached in the chat for the link. I would also like you to look at my literature review chapter on Dalcroze, Euronics, and social cohesion, as I think it might be relevant to your work. So before I present my theoretical framework, I would like to introduce my research. So the purpose of this multi-site case study was to explain how a Dalcroze-inspired approach can facilitate the nurturing of social cohesion at 3 community music engagement sites in a peri-urban area in the Northwest Province of South Africa. The students who are engaged with service learning at Tshameka Primary School, Setshaba Primary School, and Vukona Community Development Center were included as participants in this study. I collected visual and interview data with the students who agreed to participate. The data analysis process consisted of thematic analysis and the application of multi-site case study procedures. From my review of the literature and the data I collected, I generated a theoretical framework explaining how a Dalcroze-inspired approach promotes social cohesion. Firstly, by having Dalcroze-inspired and participating in Dalcroze-inspired activities within a safe and welcoming space, individuals experience social inclusion. Social inclusion facilitates the development of relationships based on trust. And the trust and the relationships are built within contexts that celebrate diversity. The social connections that are developed through Dalcroze-inspired activities are joyful and promote the sharing of values and goals while facing challenges together. These shared experiences lead to horizontal social cohesion, which is based on the micro level of South African society. Building this horizontal social cohesion can lead to peace, conflict transformation, and reconciliation. Various factors influence the accessibility of Dalcroze-inspired activities at my 3 community music engagement sites. The participants' demographics influence the success of the Dalcroze-inspired approach in these 3 sites. For the younger participants at Setshaba Primary School and Tshameka Primary School, a Dalcroze-inspired approach was more successful than at Vukona Community Development Center. The success of Dalcroze-inspired approach is also related to the contextual locations, which was the 2 primary schools had more success with Dalcroze-inspired approach than the Community Development Center did. This can be attributed to the fact that a Dalcroze-inspired approach is more of a formal learning approach. The expectations of the participants also have bearing on the success of a Dalcroze-inspired approach. In the school settings, the participants expected to be formally taught, whereas at the Community Development Center, the participants expected more informal sessions, which aligns with the informal nature of community music. The challenges of creating successful opportunities for Dalcroze-inspired activities are related to the facilitator's limited familiarity with the Dalcroze-inspired approach. Also, the lack of resources was also a challenge. Patego mentions in this regard that African music teachers should not be daunted by the fact that Dalcroze taught improvisation on the piano, an instrument they may not have. They do not have to look far for the resources they could utilize. For instance, spontaneous poetry serves to develop a sense of improvisation through speech. Accessible Dalcroze-inspired activities took place within welcoming spaces. The systemic challenges we face in South Africa highlight the importance of having welcoming spaces for musicking. Some aspects of a trauma-informed approach were introduced into our practice. Sessions took place in an environment that was physically and psychologically safe. Collaboration was encouraged through group interaction. Not only does trust amongst the people involved in community music engagement nurtures social cohesion, but it also helps trauma survivors to build trusting relationships after trust has been broken. Participant demographics and contextual locations also influence the implementation of a trauma-informed approach, which should be kept in mind when this approach is applied to community music activity. Where the community music engagement in the study was lacking with respect to a trauma-informed approach was the limited understanding of the possible trauma responses amongst the participants and facilitators. Therefore, community music facilitators using a Dalcroze-inspired approach should learn how to recognize signs of trauma responses. This aspect should be included in future research on Dalcroze-inspired activities in community music engagement settings. Social inclusion and social interaction were promoted through Dalcroze-inspired sessions at the community music sites. Social interaction with the participants was encouraged. The facilitators also had more opportunities to interact socially with one another outside of the music conservatory. Psuka explained that social integration through Dalcroze Eurythmics will be promoted through cooperative musical games between two or more persons. Although community music engagement is based on the principle of social inclusion and hospitality, there are limits to how socially inclusive community music engagement can be. This results in the notion of conditioned hospitality being more appropriate for our community music engagement. With hospitality in our community music engagement, we are called to live, sing, dance, and create in the space between conditioned and unconditioned and celebrate the potentialities of relationality in this space. Social inclusion was based on trust. Trust is an important aspect of social cohesion that emerged from both the international and South African literature. Building bridging trust across difference is of vital importance, as the South African Reconciliation Barometer report of 2019 revealed the prevalence of more bonding trust than bridging trust between South Africans. Encouraging trust based on character, communication, and capability between diverse community music facilitators and participants can promote bridging trust. Trust of character is a type of trust that emerged from the data. It includes consistency and encouraging mutually beneficial intentions. Therefore, the facilitator's inconsistent attendance of sessions at Tshameka Primary School negatively influenced trust. As a community music facilitator, trust of character connects with your ability to express relatedness. Relatedness can be promoted by building connections with the participants through reciprocal, caring attitudes. Respecting the participants' individual autonomy as the facilitator within the group setting also encourages trust. Additionally, trust of communication also emerged from data as an important factor. Trust of communication includes sharing information as well as giving and receiving constructive feedback. At Vukona, the Community Development Center, it was reported that good communication aided in building trust amongst the facilitators. With communication trust, multilingualism in South Africa needs to be considered, especially since speaking multiple languages can encourage social cohesion. Where languages barriers arise, a Dalcroze-inspired approach can help by promoting nonverbal communication. Facilitators also helped each other by offering translations if there were language barriers. Lastly, trust of capability emerged from the data as a type of trust between facilitators. Trust of capability includes acknowledging people's skills as well as encouraging them to make their own decisions. The facilitators at all three sites trusted each other's capabilities of facilitators. Another aspect of capability trust is seeking others' input. This aspect of capability trust was particularly evident amongst the facilitators at Tshameka Primary School, who cooperated and cooperatively learned from each other. The less experienced facilitators would learn from the more experienced facilitators. Capability trust also extends to the participants in the community music engagement. In relation to capability trust, Kamara refers to the competence of the participants and their feelings of self-efficacy. To build capability, trust, and feelings of self-efficacy, it is important to set challenges and goals that the participants can reach. Setting appropriate challenges that are attainable and can encourage the experience of. For participants in the community music engagement, the potential outcomes include self-efficacy, social identity, and personal agency. Relationships based on trust are built in an environment that celebrates diversity. In a culturally diverse society such as South Africa, it is important to create musiking opportunities where diversity is celebrated. Celebrating diversity in community music engagement means valuing the cultural capital that individuals bring to the session. One aspect of cultural capital that is important to take into account in a Dalcroze-inspired approach is the movement habitus of people. Van Heerden mentions the challenge of promoting social cohesion through the medium of dance and raises the importance of considering movement habitus. The challenge lies in creating opportunities for participants to learn about the various forms of movement habitus through dance without the promotion of cultural assimilation practices. This emphasizes the importance of making space for diverse forms of movement habitus during Dalcroze-inspired sessions in community music engagement contexts. Engaging not only with the literature, but also within the community music context required reflection on how my practice can be best equipped to engage with cultural diversity. Paulo Freire's notion of cultural synthesis defines how I see my community music practice. My experience at Vukona Community Development Center especially made me realize that imposing aesthetic considerations through cultural invasion was counterproductive. Facilitating sessions with a culturally responsive approach contributes to cultural synthesis. Culturally responsive teaching can also encourage community music activity which is trauma-informed. Celebrating diversity for me also highlights the need for interconnectedness. We can only be together in otherness through an intersectional understanding of one another. Being together in otherness in a context that celebrates diversity contributes to joyful experiences. Social connections encourage joyful experiences of community music engagement. Joy is a social emotion, as the elation of joy derives from feeling right relation to others. A spirit of play through social interaction inspires joy in Dalcroze rhythms. This became evident with the facilitators from all three sides having fun while facilitating sessions. Van der Merwe's theory of joy in Dalcroze rhythmics indicates how a Dalcroze-inspired approach can promote joyful experiences. The facilitators faced shared challenges during community music engagement that led to the development of shared values while striving to reach those shared goals. These challenges included session management, which entailed managing the discipline of the participants. Facilitators also identified inadequate consistency and problems of communication during the session as challenges. The facilitators faced these challenges on the basis of shared values, such as setting an appropriate example as a facilitator and being responsible during the sessions. Another shared value includes acknowledging and accommodating diversity during community music engagement sessions. These values contribute to the facilitators reaching their shared goal of successful musicking at the community music engagement sites. This process generates a sense of belonging that contributes to horizontal social cohesion. The horizontal dimension of social cohesion consists of interaction, trust, and relationships between people across differences such as class, identity, race, or other social constructs. Horizontal social cohesion is located on the micro level of South African society, and therefore horizontal social cohesion through Dalcroze-inspired activities in community music engagement has the potential to transform individuals. Participants in Dalcroze Remix have revealed personal and professional transformation. The intra and interpersonal relationships and connections that participants build through Dalcroze Remix gives them a transformational learning experience. Positive, difficult, and challenging experience of Dalcroze rhythmics contributes to growth and transformation. The transformational nature of Dalcroze rhythmics leads to spiritual experiences. Community music engagement was a transformative experience for the facilitators in this study, as it was a learning process for them that made them feel more confident. This gives the facilitators the capability to facilitate transformation in their local communities through music. I would like to open the floor for the questions and discussions. And yes, I welcome you to pose your questions if you have any. Thank you very much for listening.